On the black sands of Iwo Jima, men went to war carrying fire and became the flame themselves. Their average life expectancy on the battlefield, 4 minutes. They were called living torches because one spark, one bullet, one wrong gust of wind, and the fire meant for the enemy would consume them instead. In every war, there are men sent to do the jobs no one else will. In World War II, that job was carrying fire. It was February 1945. The Pacific War had reached its deadliest phase. Iwo Jima, a tiny 8-square-mile island of volcanic ash, sat like a black scar halfway between the Marianas and mainland Japan. To most people, it was nothing but barren rock. To the US military, it was everything. B-29 bombers flying from Saipan and Tinian had to pass directly over Iwo Jima on their way to bomb Tokyo. From there, Japanese radar could spot them early, and fighters could intercept the bombers long before they reached their targets. But if America could seize the island, everything would change. Iwo Jima could serve as a forward airbase, a place where damaged bombers could land, and where fighters could refuel to escort them deeper into Japan. For the Japanese, it was sacred ground, the last barrier before the homeland. General Tadamichi Kuribayashi, a disciplined and brilliant officer, took command of its defense. He had studied every previous island battle, Tarawa, Saipan, Peleliu, and learned the lesson others had ignored. Meeting the Americans head-on at the beaches was suicide. So this time, he did something no one expected. He went underground. By the time the US fleet arrived, the Japanese had carved more than 11 miles of tunnels through the soft volcanic rock. Entire units were hidden below the surface. Bunkers, pillboxes, command posts, and machine gun nests, all connected by passages invisible from above. Every cave, every gun, and every trench was pre-measured and pre-sighted. Artillery could cover every inch of the beach with precision fire. Kuribayashi didn't plan to stop the invasion. He planned to make it so costly that America would question invading Japan itself. When the US Navy began its bombardment, for 3 days the island disappeared under smoke and flame. Battleships fired over 22,000 shells. When it was over, the beach looked dead, silent, grey, and motionless. And then, the Marines landed. At first it was eerily quiet. No gunfire, no movement. Only the crunch of boots in the black volcanic sand. Then, at 9 a.m., the island erupted. Machine guns, mortars, and heavy artillery opened with terrifying precision. Kuribayashi had waited until the beaches were packed. Now, his men fired into the densest clusters of Marines where every bullet counted. For the next several hours, the landing beaches became killing fields. The sand swallowed boots and jammed rifles. Vehicles sank. There was nowhere to dig, nowhere to hide. The first waves of Marines took hundreds of casualties within minutes, but inch by inch they pushed forward, clearing one bunker, then another, only to have the enemy reappear behind them. That's when they realized the Japanese weren't on the surface anymore. They were below, moving through tunnels, re-emerging in areas the Marines thought they had already secured. It was like fighting ghosts in the dark. Every position destroyed came alive again. Grenades and rifles couldn't end it. The Marines needed a weapon that could reach inside the tunnels, flush out the unseen, and make the invisible enemy visible again, even if only in fire. That weapon was the flamethrower. Private James P. McClure was 19 when he strapped the M22 flamethrower to his back for the first time. He remembered the sound it made, a faint metallic hiss, as the fuel sloshed in the tanks behind him. 70 pounds of liquid fire, enough to burn everything within 20 yards, but only for 7 seconds. He later said, "You didn't think about surviving. You thought about not letting your buddies die. Every time I went forward, I told myself, someone has to make it count." McClure's task was simple, but brutal. He crawled toward the caves that rifles and grenades couldn't reach. Inside those caves, Japanese soldiers waited, often silent, sometimes taunting the Americans to come closer. He'd squeeze the trigger, and the world would turn white and orange. The roar of the flame drowned out everything, even his own heartbeat. The heat was unbearable. The ground trembled under his knees. Then silence. Sometimes a scream. Sometimes nothing. And always the smell of burning fuel. McClure was one of hundreds of operators who carried that burden, a weapon feared by both sides. Every time they went forward, snipers aimed for them first. The enemy knew, kill the man with the fire, and you save the rest. Many never made it past their first mission. The M22 flamethrower was designed for short, brutal work. 2 main tanks of thickened gasoline, 1 smaller tank of compressed nitrogen. The nitrogen pushed the sticky fuel through a hose into a nozzle called the projector. At the tip, an electrical igniter, or a small burning cartridge of white phosphorus, set it ablaze. A full tank gave the operator about 7 seconds of total fire. Effective range? Around 20 yards, if you were lucky, and the wind was calm. That meant each burst had to be short, 1 or 2 seconds, aimed carefully, and followed by retreat. The danger wasn't just from bullets. The tanks could rupture if hit. Sometimes the valves failed. A backflash of flame could ignite the operator himself. There was a tactic known as the wet burst. Operators fired short, unlit bursts to drench a bunker in fuel, then triggered a single, ignited blast to consume the entire position. Temperatures could exceed 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. In seconds, oxygen vanished. Even soldiers untouched by flame suffocated where they stood. It was the most terrifying weapon of its time, not because of what it did to the enemy, but because of what it did to those who used it. Many operators later said they could still smell the burned fuel decades after the war ended. Some said they dreamed in fire. February 23, 1945. The same day the flag rose on Mount Suribachi. McClure's unit was pinned down by machine gun fire from a fortified cave. The entrance was narrow, invisible from the side, and every approach was swept with bullets. One Marine after another fell trying to reach it. McClure volunteered. He crawled through the ash, bullets striking sparks on the rocks beside him. The tanks on his back felt heavier with every breath. When he reached 30 feet, he could see the dark mouth of the cave and the flicker of movement inside. He took a deep breath and fired. A jet of flame shot forward, disappearing into the darkness. For a moment, nothing. Then the entire hillside exploded as the cave's ammunition stockpile ignited. A column of smoke and fire rose into the sky. For 7 seconds, night turned into day. And then, silence. McClure was thrown backward by the blast, his uniform scorched, his hands burned. He survived. Barely. Most didn't. Some were shot before they ever got close. Others died when their own tanks ignited. On Iwo Jima, the average flamethrower operator lasted less than a single mission. But without them, the Marines couldn't advance. When the island was finally declared secure, after 36 days of fighting, nearly 7,000 Americans were dead. Of the 21,000 Japanese defenders, only a few hundred were taken alive. The flamethrower had done what no other weapon could, but at a cost no one wanted to remember. When McClure returned home, people asked him if it was true, if the stories about flamethrowers were real. He never answered. He would just shake his head and walk away. Other operators spoke later, briefly. One said, "We didn't hate them, we feared them. Because when you fight that close, you see their faces." The physical danger ended with the war. The psychological scars did not. Many suffered from nightmares, guilt, and isolation. They had seen things that blurred the line between necessity and horror. They had carried fire and been marked by it. By the 1970s, most Western militaries banned flamethrowers, not for strategic reasons, but for moral ones. They were too visible, too medieval, too intimate, a relic of a time when survival came before humanity. And yet, historians agree, without those operators, Iwo Jima might have taken months longer, and tens of thousands more would have died. In every war, there are men who fight with weapons, and then there are men who become them. The flamethrower operators of World War II carried more than fire. They carried the unbearable weight of necessity. They were not the heroes people celebrated. They were the shadows behind victory. The ones who burned through hell so others could walk through the ashes. Even after the war, their battle never truly ended. Because some fires don't burn out. They follow you home. If you want to hear what happened to the men who survived, and how their fight continued long after the guns went silent, subscribe for the next legend.